Hello and welcome to ARTvice. In this series, I'm hoping to simultaneously give some art and some advice. Now, I know some people do these kind of rants and artistic advice and stuff on YouTube, and I really liked watching some of them, mostly as like actually a podcast kind of thing. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I've got things to say, I've got opinions, and some of them are quite good. Maybe, maybe other people would agree. Sorry, my throat decided it needed to close. But basically, I'm just going to give my opinions, some advice. Some of the topics aren't necessarily going to be advice, they're just my opinion, so really, it's a terrible name, and I'm starting terribly. So, why do art at the same time? I mean, I can understand when it's digital art because it's pretty easy, you know. You just have this recording, you speed it up. It's quite a helpful concept, especially if you're talking about art styles or something. Well, mine is physical art, so that takes quite a lot of effort. I'm just have an overhead camera whilst I'm doing the painting part because the pencil part really isn't picked up by my camera. It's encouraging me to make art and means that I can do something without having to put makeup on or make sure that my hair's done or whatever's necessary for going outside for the day. And also, you know, I think a piece of art, especially if I'm connecting it to to what we're talking about, you know, it's helpful. It makes you think, maybe, and shows you someone's process of making art. And as I'm not that good, you can uh, you can not feel as bad while I'm making it. So this first episode, I'm going to talk about sleep. Now, obviously, we spend like half of our life, or like 3/4 at least. No, not 3/4, the other way around. At least 1/4 of our life asleep. So it's I mean, pretty useful, and we kind of think we know how to do it. But a lot of people have problems with sleep. I know someone who has insomnia. As a young child, I had a lot of nightmares and stuff. Very vivid imagination in terms of dreaming, but it's just I have some stuff that helps me, and I've looked a little bit into the research, so hopefully if you're having problems with sleeping, or if you're just, you know, a normal person, some of these little tricks, tips and tricks, that's the term, will be able to help, or you'll be able to say, no, that's nonsense. That didn't sound like a word, nonsense. And that's also fun to hear. I mean, the discrediting of scientific research is just as helpful as, you know, the crediting of it. Yes, no, I'm not going to edit this. I mean, I've already edited this because I've recorded it again with a less noisy background of cars going past. So let's get into it. Now, I myself do not have insomnia. I've always been able to get off to sleep reasonably easily after, you know, being reassured by my parents as a kid, and just, you know, what I go through. I'm pretty good at sleeping. It's if I could put it on my resume, I would. So I can't help you with that. But I did find a research paper through my research into Google Scholar, and found a study looking at the methods of, you know, treatment for insomnia. And the thing is, realistically, you kind of have to take what you're given if you go to the NHS or your doctors or whatever. But a lot of research, especially in the psychology, medical area, the treatment area, therapy, they don't have that much proof behind them. They've kind of often been tested once, and they don't do very well in retesting. So there's 5 treatments that met the criteria for empirical, you know, it being good. And that was stimulus control therapy, relaxation, which makes sense, paradoxical intention, maybe that's doing the opposite of what you'd think. Sleep restriction, so I think that's like stopping naps and things, and cognitive behaviour therapy. So that might be to the point of Freudian, I go to sleep when I smell this smell, etc., which, can actually be really helpful. I don't know if it's actually that, but, I can recommend that if you have like a little lavender pillow that you only smell that smell right before you go to sleep, then that will lead to you going to sleep when you smell that smell. I have that for cars and church. Whenever I'm in a car, I'm really sleepy if you wait long enough. And church, I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I guess I know as a baby that we were taken in the car on a little drive to get us to sleep, especially in our Land Rover, because we went on safari, and quite often just the rattling up and down. If you've been in an old Land Rover, you know what I'm talking about. It's very relaxing. It's essentially the tall, big, adult human version of being rocked to sleep. So, Freudian, this situation, this stimulus equals, sleep, which is a great idea. However, I, once again, do not have insomnia, so obviously you've got some you might have some deeper problems in terms of it's not just a routine or stuff that will help you. Could be just like therapy, treatment, whether that's pills or... I think most of these should be used in conjunction with some sort of talking therapy or like, more mental stuff, because I mean, if someone's having a problem, they should always have help, even if even if it might seem silly as having a bit of trouble getting to sleep. Not that that's what insomnia is, of course, but even if you're just having a bit of problem getting to sleep, if you're at university, you might have a pastoral advisor, or just, at least in the university I'm at, they've got loads of places you can just call up and talk to people, get a bit of help, and hopefully it's the same, even if it's just a charity. Google it in your country, it'll probably be okay. So, back into my experience. Obviously, you can't change your biology in like your entire thought process in terms of sleep immediately and all of that by yourself, of course. So you can change your environment. So you can change your light levels, how comfortable your bed is, and what you do before you go to sleep to help you, have the right environment to elicit, the right reaction. One lecture this recorded lecture on YouTube that I watched was about some sleep experts, and one thing they went into is melanin. So melanin is a hormone? Yeah, I think so. That is kind of connected to the dark. So in humans, it prepares us to go to sleep. So as it gets darker, we get more melanin, and therefore we feel sleepy. It kind of... it's basically the reverse of hormones that make you active. But this is the reverse for bats and nocturnal animals. So as they increase in melanin, they increase in alertness. So basically, melanin kind of tells you what to do when you when it's dark, When it's dark, humans should sleep. Generally, that's the rule. So, recommendation they gave is to take a melatonin... Have I been saying that wrong the entire time? I'll edit yes or no into that. Melatonin... Yeah, I said melanin. What's that? Melatonin tablet before you go to sleep, so that you have this rise in melatonin to trigger this, night go to sleep reaction. But this is only really for extreme cases, so like if you're blind and you can't, you can't perceive light, so very extreme. Otherwise, just make sure your room is dark before you go to sleep. Don't go to the bathroom right before you go to sleep unless it's like you can make it semi-lit. You know, those twisty knobs on the lights if you have them. Because basically flashing yourself with that bright bathroom, bedroom light will not be helpful for you to get to sleep. But what if the problem is that it's too bright and you can't block it off? So I've had this problem myself in my 2 years of university, going into the third. I've consistently, those 2 years, had a room where my bedroom window is right across the street from a street lamp. So that's incredibly bright, meant to guide you in the darkest of nights, and well, it does. So you want to get a blackout curtain. However, I was always too lazy to open and close curtains, so what I did is I got my face mask from when I went over to see my family, and I just wear that at night, you know. Blocks out the light, gives you melatonin, good old time. So from that advice coming from professionals and research, here's some random stuff that I just worked out and I think might work. So I worked in a nursery, and in my class there was a child who had sensory issues. By the way, I tried to say that so many times, it ended up sounding wrong every time, and I'm pretty sure that's not the term. But basically he needed a kind of he needed to be stimulated via the senses, and one of the classic methods is when we're babies. You can settle a child by kind of putting your hand, like the pressure, the warmth of that can be reassuring to help them sleep. So this child had a weighted blanket that was supposed to help him get to sleep. Of course, he didn't like it, so it was a waste of money. But you know, I didn't pay it, so that's fine. What I did have, however, was this little weighted neck beanbag. So it's one of those things that you take its outer pillow cover skin off and put it in the microwave with a bowl of water for about 3 minutes or so, and it kind of warms up. So I have this. Can you hear the tip-tapping of little toes? That's a dog. But you warm it up and put it on your neck to soothe muscle pain, because I get muscle pain as a consequence of my very frequent headaches and migraines, but that, yeah, both of them. So instead I decided this little weighted bag, you know, why not try that to help me get to sleep? So one way is that I sleep on my side, so I'll kind of put it over my waist. I've always also found that I'm quite used to having a dog at my feet, so putting like pillows or something there can help. Or combine this with the earlier advice and put it on your face to block out vision. This does have some further proof though, actually. I've recently found that they're actually selling the dog going up and downstairs. They've been selling a weighted sleeping mask, which is basically what I've been doing, but without a £30 price tag. In case you can just make this, just buy a bag of beans for about £2, and you know, sew or hot glue gun a bag together. You probably won't be able to microwave it if you just do it yourself, like without advice, but you'll be able to use it as a weighted eye cover, or just a weighted thing to put on yourself. And I think it works, so you can give it a try. One piece of advice that is often given is setting up a routine. So obviously going to sleep at a certain time, kind of that sort of stuff makes sense. However, what you might not immediately think of is naps. So once again, because my headaches and migraines, I get kind of tired, well, because of them, and also just want to escape the pain of life. So when I have a nap during the day, oh, it doesn't help. I mean, it helps get me away from the pain. Sometimes back when I was younger and it was less severe, it actually used to take it away, or just like I'd pass through the entire pain cycle asleep. Not anymore though, so it doesn't even help that way. But basically, if you take a nap, if you have a 3 hour nap in the middle of the day, that's 3 hours less that you need to sleep at night, and 3 hours less that you probably will sleep, if not more, because you're not going to be sleepy at the right time. You're not going to be set up for a healthy sleep system. I definitely recommend just trying to, especially if you're depressed, and that one consequence of depression can be that you feel sleepy. Just, I would say, get up and do something. So, I can do art. I can play a video game if I can be bothered. Just get up and do something, even if it's a headache, even if it's just whatever you're feeling like. Just kind of distract yourself physically, I find, can sometimes work. But try not to take naps if possible. Obviously, if it is pain, it can be, and you're sleepy, then, you don't feel like you can do anything. A nap can sometimes help. So just be practical and think about what's best for you. Part and parcel of the whole don't take a nap sleep routine thing is the time before you go to sleep. It's not only, oh, at 8 o'clock I go to sleep. There's like what you're doing before then, like set up a system to set you up to go to sleep. The setup for your sleep routine. So obviously you'd brush your teeth, you wash yourself, any of that. Try not to stimulate yourself too much. Playing video games. I find books can be too stimulating because you want to read more, you want to finish it, you want to. It's a good book. Book is hard to put down. What I do is I have a bath. I spend a ridiculous amount in my bed before I go to sleep. But at least I'm not having a jog. That'd probably be better though, because then I'd be actually having a jog once in a while. But stay in your bedroom, don't do anything exciting, and right before I go to sleep, after I've brushed my teeth, put my gum shield in because I grind my teeth, I'll lay in my bed on my side, put my laptop off of me, don't do too much on my laptop, and I watch a YouTube video. So at the moment that tends to be the Yogscast, one of their series, and you want to find, no offense Yogscast, but you've got more exciting and kind of more casual gameplay, and more casual gameplay it is putting me to sleep, but that's mostly for the Freudian, effect we were talking about, because I do it before I go to sleep every night. No offense. I do also watch them while I'm conscious, but I've always found that movies, that's another thing, movies or just not doing something simultaneously whilst watching something will make me sleepy, so that's what I do, a combination of Freud and, it's not even Freudian, it's, what, classical conditioning, what have I been going on about? I don't even like Freud. Anyway, it's this whole thing of, making this connection between something, and then I sleep afterwards, so it makes me sleepy. Another piece of advice that's quite commonly given, and I don't follow, but I know is great advice, is to compartmentalize. So basically, bed equals sleep. Don't do other things in your bed, or well, some other things, but don't go on your phone, don't go on your laptop in your bed. Don't, just like, your bed is for sleeping, and sleeping is what you do in your bed. Now, I basically live from my bed, so I'm not doing that, but admittedly, I do feel a bit more active in the day if I'm going downstairs and sitting on a sofa at least, just not sitting in my bed. So it's definitely good advice. I just don't follow it. I'll kind of finish this off with a bit more research that's from the YouTube lecture that I watched that I can't necessarily put into an advice form, but I found quite interesting. So one was that cortisol is kind of a sleep and stress hormone. So if you have disturbed sleep, then cortisol will peak throughout the night, where it's usually, not, kind of a curve. And it will lead to odd metabolic, so that's how you break down food, and emotional responses. So if you are sleeping badly, that can really affect your life, on a base level, especially if it is happening night after night after night. It's something that you should really tackle and try to help. I mean, it also said that, cortisol isn't a flat thing, so it's hard to give people pills and stuff of it, because you need different amounts at different times of the night. So, but that's more for the medical experts than for me and YouTube or the wider world to decide. And the other part was that a lot of research on, sleeping is done, and light is done on people who are blind, because obviously, they can't necessarily see light. And they were wondering, how do they regulate their sleep pattern? So they found that even people who are completely blind, because most people apparently aren't actually completely blind if they're blind, they can sometimes see kind of light and the absence of light, even if they can't probably see. So it's kind of like seeing the silhouette. I don't know, but this is what I've been told is like a silhouette in front of a window. Kind of, you can see light and dark. It depends on the person, don't generalise. But basically, even people who are completely blind, can't see any light, they still have something in them to regulate their sleep pattern, even if they don't know when it's dark. And they found that even people who are completely blind react to this certain blue light. Even if they can't perceive it, see it, it still activates this reaction, which is absolutely fascinating, I find. And maybe if you're blind or just like a normal person, like giving a bit of that blue light could help you sleep. But once again, that's not down to me. I can't tell you how to apply that research. I hope this is useful. You can apply a few little bits, and if you're already doing it, all of these things, then go to your GP, call a charity or someone. There's loads of help available. I'll see what's available for me in the UK and put a few links, as well as links to the few, I think it's 2 pieces of research that I'm kind of unofficially citing. And I hope it's helpful, generally. I'm going to finish this off with a tiny little